What happened was...
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
She's a conductor, pianist, recitalist, coach, teacher, mentor, librettist, poet, and writer. And I expect many more titles will be added to the list in the near future. Please welcome Kathleen Kelly to the show.
Hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Are you experiencing the giant winter storm?
Not as of yet. It's very cold. I'm in New York. It's 16 degrees, I believe, right now.
Nice.
Yeah. Where are you?
I'm in Charlottesville, Virginia, and right now, like really beautiful, like Currier and Ives snow is falling.
Oh, that's
so like right now it's very like benign and gorgeous. So we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, well, perfect for a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I love that. And well, it's so nice to see you. And it's just been a wild couple of years, right?
Like in what way? No, just
kidding.
And it continues, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's just ongoing. But one thing that you did during the pandemic, which was it's just so lovely, and you're still doing it, is your poetry readings on Instagram. And they're so beautiful and lovely and such a calming, breath of fresh air.
Would love to take a walk with you. Miss you. Would love to make you shrimp saganaki, like you used to make me when you were alive. Love to feed you. Sit over steaming bowls of pilaf. Little roasted tomatoes covered in pepper and nutmeg. Miss you. Would love to walk to the post office with you. Bring the ghost dog. We'll walk past the waterfall and you can tell me about the after. Wish you would come back for a while. Don't even need to bring your skin sack. I'll know you. I know you will know me, even though I'm bigger now, grayer. I'll show you my garden. I'd like to hop in the leaf pile you raked, but if you want to jump in, I'll rake it for you. Miss you standing, looking out at the river with your rake in your hand. Miss you in your puffy blue jacket. They're hip now. I can bring you a new one, if only you'll come by. No, I told you it was okay to go. No, I told you it was okay to leave me. Why'd you believe me? You always believed me. Wish you would come back so we could talk about truth. Miss you. Wish you would walk through my door. Stare out from the mirror. Come through the pipes.
Is that something, I'm assuming you've been a lifelong lover of poetry.
Totally, absolutely.
And you're a writer as well.
I am. Although I tend to read the words of people who are a lot better at it than me. I think I've read 2 of my own poems, but I sort of like stick them in there every now and then. But there's so much like beautiful writing, and it's fun to read other people's words. It sort of started during the pandemic in those early shutdown days when we all were like just like recording sad songs in our apartments.
Yeah.
But it was a way to reach out to people. I mean, like it's so amazing to be chatting with you in this format where like we can have this connection and connect with other people. Like all of that is on a daily basis miraculous to me.
Oh yeah, and so much of it is new, and I think a lot of it won't be going anywhere. It'll be a part of what we do going forward, and a companion to live interaction or live performance.
Totally. And we're still figuring out like exactly what it's capable of, or exactly what we're capable of through it.
Yeah.
And I have admired everything that you've been doing so much, and just enjoyed watching you just kind of go for it. Like you're in that crowd of people for me who just like went striding in there.
Oh,
And it's
thanks.
but I mean, not only do you make cool stuff, but it's really important to the rest of us, especially those of us who are more kind of over on the classical side of performance, because we place such a high value on like not ever making any mistakes. I think that makes the digital switch, or the adding of the virtual component to what we do really scary.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, because nobody knows exactly what it is or how to do it in a great way. Like we're building the plane as we're flying it, as they say.
Yep.
So like to have fearless people out there just like saying essentially try, have some fun, you just go for it. It's so important. It's not just entertaining, it's really important.
Well,
So
thanks.
I'm hugely grateful to you.
Oh goodness, thank you. I mean, you're very much in this movement as well, and doing such important work. And your frequent collaborators, I think, would say the same. You're such a champion, especially for new works, and that's so incredibly important, and something that has been near and dear to me since I first got into this wild opera scene. It's like, no, this is not a dying art form. No, it isn't just stuff in other languages from 500 years ago. It's now, and it's our stories, and it's composers that are living, and it's really exciting.
Absolutely. It feels like a real renaissance right now, actually.
It does. It does. Yeah. I think early in the pandemic, I just thought like, well, wait a second. What if all the venues close and they never come back? Okay, we're still left. The artists are still there, and we'll still create. It may look different, and it may feel different in our bank accounts, but we will keep creating. And I think that's a really cool thing, and definitely something that has come out of this, very challenging time. And
totally.
Yeah, and everyone responds differently. And I think
100%.
Yeah, some people felt like they needed to just turn inward and be with themselves, and I think that's a wonderful thing too, and can fill your cup in different ways.
Totally. Well, we're all going through multiple things, right? There's the whole industry part of it, and that's like one little piece of the entire national situation and global situation.
Yes.
Right. So I mean, yeah. I'm not about to say like platitudinous things to you about like navigating loss, but I don't think I've ever been in a situation in my lifetime where so many people were navigating large losses and large disruptions of things that they had planned at the same time.
Right, absolutely. And also the perspective of that, in that what feels large to you may look small to someone else, and vice versa. And we are all in different stages, different places, and it's really the emotional experience that we can identify with each other with. It's not, and I think it's important to not compare the magnitude of our individual losses.
Those are really wise words, and important to remember when everybody's in the middle of a big navigation, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody feels like
Yep.
So it's a challenge to keep your vision wide.
Absolutely. Moment, especially when we've primarily been isolated, and we really are only looking at our paths, unless we go on social media and see like, oh, so and so's performing in Europe, I'm so jealous,
Right. Yeah.
We it's really difficult, and I think something I hear a lot of people talking about lately is empathy, and how do we just like this desperate search for empathy, and incredibly important.
But you just underlined something so important. Empathy feels like something that almost happens on a cellular level when you're with another human being, and so like you just named the most, I mean, I think one of the most challenging parts of this is that it is challenging on a daily basis to connect with the things inside your soul that are empathetic, and those responses when you're often not around people. right? And
Right.
everything, all the information that you're having is coming this way. Although I think we're learning, right? Like one of the things that's wild about people and what they invent is that our technology always outstrips our ability to understand it
Oh,
and
yeah.
engage with it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hosting this song slam which is a cool event for new music, new art song, in Cincinnati next week, and we're doing little online interviews with the composer and performer teams. And I did one yesterday, and the composer Evan Mack,
Yeah.
whose work I have admired for a long time, but somebody that I've never met in person,
Yeah.
was one of the people that I was interviewing. And when we got on screen together, he said, "It's so nice to finally meet you in person." And I said, "I know, it's great." And I went up, and I was like 2 sentences into the interview before I thought, we're not meeting each other in person.
Well, I mean,
but I do think in that sort of like, Star Trek universe kind of way, like
yeah.
we are starting to accept this, but also learn how to vibe with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Learn how to, we're learning it. I'm not
Right.
even sure exactly how we're learning it, but
Oh, yeah.
but I mean, that is happening. I mean, Evan and I still have not met in person. I look forward to that day, but it is that feeling, right? Or when you when you run into somebody IRL and you're like, have we met? Like, meet Zach to meet Zach, or have we just like what is the status of our relationship? So it's it's mind-bending.
Well, I was telling a story the other day to someone about someone I know on Instagram, and I realized I've only met her on Instagram, not in real life, right? But I was like, oh, my friend so and so, and I'm like, can I call her my friend? We've never met in real life, but we are friends because we talk a lot and we interact a lot, but it's very interesting.
The event that just kind of displaced me the most in recent memory was the Jamie Barton, Stephanie Blythe Carmen that Chicago Opera Theater did. I traveled there to see it, and I met like 12 people that I only know on Twitter.
Wow.
So there's this moment of like, hey, it's great to see you for the first time ever. So it's weird, right? You're like up here, you have this response to like, oh, person that I know, but then there's some animal part of you that's like stranger.
Right.
It's yeah. So like, I can't even, we're in the middle of this thing right now. I wonder how we'll explain it to like our grandkids. Back in the day when we,
but it's definitely changing the course of our entire lives, I think. And nothing will ever be the same in a way. And in a way, like the pandemic will never leave us either. It's basically endemic now, and we'll always have this thing around, and it's something that we need to kind of accept in a way. And in the same sense, accepting this digital age of communication. And when I was a kid, so I grew up in Florida and went to Disney World a lot, and my favorite was Epcot Center. And at Epcot there's Tomorrowland. and like everything that was in Tomorrowland in the 80s is now something we have. It's kind of funny, like what we're doing right now, they would show on one of the rides, like a little girl communicating with someone by video chat on this tiny screen, and it seemed so far out, but here we are.
So for me, when I was a kid, that was the Jetsons.
Yeah.
Meet George Jetson. But they talk to each other by video screen all the time. They went to the doctor over video screen.
Oh.
They had a robot that cleaned their house.
Yeah, I love the Jetsons. I never thought about that though. That there it is. Wow.
I know, right?
That's wild. Oh my goodness. Well, so I have to ask about your poetry. I'm assuming that when you coach singers, you have them read poetry of their songs. And so was your poetry readings, did they sort of come out of that practice, or was that a separate thing?
I think all of those things are probably related. I mean, I always thought I was going to be a choir director, but I ended up heading down the art song and then like different kinds of theater music route when I discovered that repertoire. I mean, for me, I mean, I think this is a very common response. You find out that cool stories can get set to music like in people's voices, and you have that incredible combination of narrative, but then like super narrative,
Yeah.
that place where the human voice isn't just telling you information anymore. It's just like, bah.
Yeah. I love that.
So, but all of that great sound is still based in the music of the word, right? Like every language has got its own gorgeous music. And I think you connect with that physically as a performer, but also just like creatively, if you really immerse yourself in the words, like their sound, you know, like all this beautiful human stuff, like almost every word for mother, like in human languages, begins with some version of that sound, which is so like elementary. It's one of the first ones you can make.
Right.
It's and then and languages go off from there, right? So I think I love poetry the best of all kinds of writing, because it is so much concerned with musical things, with sound and with rhythm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love exploring it. I just love seeing what people do.
Oh yeah. Somebody said once that every word sounds like what it is. Does that? Yeah.
I mean, I love it when that happens.
Yeah.
You know? and just the way that, I mean, I don't speak very many languages. I mean, let's be honest, I only speak one language. By American standards, I speak two languages. Like I speak I speak German well enough to impress most people over here.
Got it.
But then like in Vienna, they're like, oh my God. But I love, but when you immerse yourself in like how another language functions, you start to see like little different vantage points from which different people view the world depending on what language they speak. Like English is so active and so verb driven, and German is so like noun driven, and you can make these amazing Franken words. There was a there was a sign in the U-Bahn station, in the subway station in Vienna, Rollfahrtreppenbenutzungshinweis, which is one word, which means instructions for using the escalator. Which is like, first of all, do you need instructions to use the escalator? But it was there, and I mentioned that to German-speaking friends once over there. I said, this is one of my favorite words because it's so damn long and it's just normal. You just see it every day. And they said, they asked me, what's the English word for that? And I said, oh, well, it means instructions for using the escalator. And they said, we know what it means. What's the English word for it? It was like, oh, we have a phrase, like we don't have a word. And so like, what does that mean in, what does that difference mean in how you view everything about how the world works? I don't know, but like it's that's a place where I could nerd out like all day.
Oh yeah. The how language came to be and how there are so many different languages is just a rabbit hole I could never come out of.
And how we only ever like mostly know what somebody else is talking about, like if we're lucky.
Wow.
If we're lucky, we're getting a large percentage of it, but you know, all of our communication is imperfect.
Oh yeah, I never thought.
You know, and it's just, that's another thing to keep in mind, right? And that's a hard thing about this age, when so many different kinds of communication are so available, which is wonderful. But I spend a lot of time thinking these days about how we're not careful with our words.
Oof.
And like, I don't think I'm more careful. Like I'm a dumb human person, you know, and I spend a lot of time thinking that I know everything, which is a huge mistake. But it is, but like words really mean things.
Oh yeah.
Right? They really mean things. And we it's so possible for us to just like throw what we think anywhere. And it's good to remember that It's good to at least always start with a question, right?
Yeah.
When you're sure that you know what somebody else is saying, or you sure that you're being really, really clear with what you mean. Like,
Right.
we're just all doing our best.
Oh my goodness, yes. And not to mention text-based communication and how easy that is to misinterpret.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
twist, right?
yeah, when we don't have tone, when we don't have someone in front of us talking, talk about real life again, it's like, I have no idea what you mean when I can't see your eyes or hear your tone. And you send me a text.
That's why this is so great. That's why video chat is so important.
Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now, so you've worked for like every opera company on the planet, and you're you're in Vienna a long time. I mean, Glimmerglass, Houston, San Francisco, LA, everywhere, right? So you said that your goal was to be in choral music, but how did you get into opera?
It's a crazy story, actually. Do you want to hear it?
Of course.
Like, it's a crazy story. It's like a fate story.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So I was at Arizona State University. And basically, long story short, the details of this aren't interesting, but there was a clerical error. There was an error with my scholarship in my master's degree, and I absolutely could not afford even like state. I was a resident of Arizona. I couldn't afford like state tuition to pay for school without my tuition waiver. And I went to register for classes at the beginning of my last year, and my money wasn't there. And like, I didn't know what to do about it. There wasn't anybody that I could turn to for more cash. I was newly married. My husband was a school teacher at the time, and he was like doing in-service the week before classes started. And it was like in the 80s. So tall hair and no cell phones. I couldn't just like, call him and try to figure something out. So it was the week before classes started. I went back to the music building, and I was really upset. I was really like embarrassed. I was a very beginning adult, and I didn't handle the interaction with the registrar with very much grace. I was just really panicked. Like, it was major adulting, and I didn't know how to do it. So I went back to the music building because I thought maybe I could find a friend, and I had been crying just like out of anger. Sure. And I got on the elevator, and on the elevator was the man who ran Arizona State's Lyric Opera Theater. And they did like a couple musicals and a couple operas every year. And I didn't pay any attention to it. I was not interested in going to any of those shows. Because it wasn't what I was spending my time doing. And he looked at me very kindly, and he said, "It looks like you're having a bad day." And I said, "I am having a bad day. I hope you're having a better day." And he said, "Well, maybe it's just a bad day for everybody. I just got a call from the person who was supposed to come and be my graduate assistant, and he's deferring enrollment for a year because of a problem in his family." And I was like, so long story short, within a couple of days, I was playing rehearsals for the opera for the year. And that was how I got the money that I needed to go to school. Wow. And yeah, I mean, this story is complete with a lie about knowing Così fan tutte. He was like, "We're having auditions in 4 days. Do you know Mozart's Così fan tutte?" And I was like, "Yes."
Of course.
So that year we did Così and we did Turn of the Screw. And it was really Turn of the Screw that made me go, "Oh, okay."
Right.
And there was also one, I have to mention this woman's name, Sylvia Debenport. She was not the music director. She was the director. She taught people like theater techniques, acting techniques, and she directed the shows. And she was the person who took me aside in a rehearsal and said, "Listen, I think that you could really do this, but also here are some things that you need to pay attention to. Here are some things that you don't know about, just like how a rehearsal room works."
Wow.
And like, this is what I need over on the directing side from musical people in the room. Like, this is what I do need, and this is what I don't need. And like, no grown-up had ever come up to me and said, "Listen, I think you could do this professionally." my piano teacher at the time was a wonderful man who taught me a lot, but absolutely didn't take me seriously as someone who was going to work, because he said to me once memorably, well, you know, you're already married and soon you'll have a family, so you're never going to put music first.
Oh my.
And so
Wow.
so it took this woman coming up to me and saying, like, listen, you have a shot, and here are some things that you need to learn. So it was a situation I never sought out. I never would have ended up there without this like weird mistake that happened. So
wow.
you know,
that's
like
beautiful.
most of what happens to us, we just have no say in.
Yeah.
Like we're in charge of almost nothing.
Yeah. I like to believe that we are placed in life where we can be of maximum service, and it makes moments like that make sense.
That's a beautiful way to look at the world.
It doesn't always stick, but I try.
Yeah, but like that's a really beautiful choice. You know what I mean? There's major beauty in that. So
you begged a man on an elevator basically for this.
I begged a man on an elevator and lied to him.
Well, all great showbiz.
There's my advice, children.
Yeah. It's always lying. You have to. That's how you. It's like the secret code to getting into showbiz is like breaking.
Well, somebody said like if you were ready to. Somebody said to me once, if you were ready to do it, it wouldn't be an opportunity.
Wow.
You know, which is just.
Yeah.
Also good to keep in mind. Like, no, you're not ready. Just try.
Well, and also this wonderful woman, the director who guided you, and truly talk about another language, the way a rehearsal is run. It's if you bring in, you know, a civilian into a rehearsal, they would have no idea what's going on sometimes, and the way we speak together, and sometimes we speak without words, and it's just glances or gesture, and you know, yeah, that's really incredible that she encouraged you and also supported you by, you know, telling you some things you had to learn. It's really cool.
Have you had experiences like that where people just came up to you and like gave you information that you didn't even know you needed?
Yeah. And those are the moments you remember.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Where you just sometimes you're like halfway through the interaction before you realize what's happening. Like, oh, this person just walked up to me and is like giving me the keys, you know, some keys. Yeah. It's some like fated divine guidance, you know, and a beautiful thing. Wow. So what after Arizona, what was your next big move? I got a Fulbright and went to Germany for a year. I date myself by saying I went to West Germany for a year. The last year that the country was divided. We were there in Lübeck. My teacher was at the conservatories in Lübeck and Hamburg. So we were near the old border when that whole situation changed. Yeah, it was great. It was also the year that showed me that I didn't want to be a solo pianist. I think I think the culture of solo pianos is still a pretty macho culture. A lot of women do it, but it's very sort of like, I can practice more than you, and you know, it's a whole mindset. But in the 80s, it was definitely that way. And I really kind of bought into that hierarchy thing. I think that's why I ended up in opera, because I've sort of had an attraction to hierarchy and the idea of getting to be an expert. There's a part of my personality that really likes that. And I always figured that if I got out from under the financial thing, like when I had the Fulbright, it was like, it's a year paid for, and I can just like get in a practice room and prepare myself for doctoral auditions and then go do that thing. And I didn't. I made friends with a bunch of singers and instrumentalists and played chamber music all year. And that made me realize, if I'm going to be a musician, I need to find a way that I can do it as part of a large system. So I came back and went to the Maryland program and started working in San Francisco, and that's how that started.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, can I ask you some silly questions?
Yes.
All right, are you ready?
Love silly questions. But I'm ready.
All right, zodiac sign.
Virgo.
Coffee or tea?
Always wanted to be a Leo, but I'm a Virgo.
Yeah. Leos are pretty cool. Yeah.
I think maybe like I'm a Leo who just is like not punctual.
Yeah.
I'm totally a Virgo, 100%.
We'll take it. Virgos are great. They keep us together. So, yeah, thank you. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip, although the correct way to say it, if you're from Minnesota, is peppermint bonbon.
I've never heard that.
You must come visit.
Peppermint bonbon.
Peppermint bonbon, my friend.
Hey, now see, I would not order that under that title, but I would order mint chocolate chips. I'm glad you taught me something today for when I'm out there. Oh my goodness. Well, beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Dream vacation spot?
Stehekin, Washington.
Oh, what's there?
It's this little town at the north end of Lake Chelan. So you have to take like an 8-hour hike to get there, or a 2-hour boat ride.
Whoa!
And then you're just like in the middle of the North Cascades with nobody around. Yeah.
Wow. Are you going to hike or take the boat?
I have always taken the boat.
Okay.
And I think that's probably what will continue to happen.
Got it. Oh my goodness. All right, here's a toughie. You have a commission from whatever opera company you want to write a new opera. What's the story?
Oh my. Oh my. I'm not sure that I would be the person to do it, but an opera that I really, really want to see written is something on the life of Fannie Lou Hamer.
Tell me more.
She was an incredible Black activist, just an amazing, strong woman. She was involved with workers' rights. She came from very impoverished circumstances and rose up in that movement, but she was also like not at the front of that movement because she didn't have an elite education, and also she was a woman at that time. But her story is incredible. She was arrested, she was jailed, she was terribly treated in jail. She had a lot of terrible physical injuries that plagued her all of her life from her encounters with the police, and she's this incredible figure that, I mean, her story and her life are so operatic. I would love to be any part of supporting any project involving that story.
Oh, who would you assign to be the composer of that?
Oh God, that is a great question, and I don't know the answer to it. I would love for it to be a female creative team, and then it probably should be like a female creative team of color, right? Of Black writers and Black composers.
Yeah.
But like I said, like I would help. If it was a story that I was writing, I think another one that I have kind of in the back of my mind is a story that's from my own family. I have a very scandalous murder in my family.
Wow.
A couple of generations back. Yeah. It actually made the papers in St. Paul, Minnesota, but like angry farmhand can't be with the daughter and like murders the family the Sunday before Christmas, and but that's a story that has to do with like immigration and a family where like half the family doesn't speak English well and half the family does speak English well, and all of these different social things coming together kind of at the edge of the frontier.
That sounds riveting.
Yeah, so apparently murders and social injustice. That's what I would like to do. Not maybe I need to write a comedy instead.